Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's AI Mastermind for Business Leaders. It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to host this event, and I'm really happy actually to see a few people here to see how AI can impact themselves and their businesses, and ultimately are here to learn about AI. So welcome, everyone. This session, just while we wait for any remaining people to arrive, we will be muting everyone's microphones and you can raise your hand to ask a question. I aim for the session to be interactive, so hopefully we'll get some feedback going back and forth. So if you have a question or you want to interact, please raise your hand. We will also be taking questions in the chat. So if there's anything that you want to ask that you want to like interrupt with, I'll be answering them at the end. There's like a specific part just for the Q&A section. There'll also be a recording made available to you after this for attending. And so no need to scramble any notes or anything like that. Cool. So for those that don't know me, my name is Nino Giambalvo, and I've been in tech and leadership roles for the past 10 years. I started my first business officially in 2014. It was a little bit before that. But over the past year, I've been helping a lot of people, probably over 100 hours, working with professionals in how to use ChatGPT in their roles more effectively. And today I'm here to share some of that knowledge with you. So the structure of this mastermind will cover really briefly what is AI and why it's so important for business leaders. Then I'll go into 2 live demonstrations, which hopefully we'll be able to get audience participation for. And then we'll talk about the AI transformation method at the end. So without further ado. So a common misconception, people believe that AI is only for tech teams. This may have been true a couple of years ago, where you needed to be a data scientist, a data engineer to be involved in AI. This is not true anymore. With generative AI, everyone has access to this. And it was evident from a report that came out from McKinsey early this year, 65% of organizations that were surveyed regularly use AI for at least one of their business functions. The most common answer was 2. Which also highlights a gap. I like to call this the AI literacy gap. And this is something that everyone across every organization should be able to use AI across their deliverables. And for only 1 or 2 business functions to be trying to play with AI suggests that there is quite a gap across the organization of people that don't have any idea how to use it in their departments. So what is AI? You might be surprised to know that it's not new. And actually, we've been calling them by different names for quite some time. What you know as algorithms, so for example, the Facebook algorithm 10 years ago that everyone spoke about and was trying to manipulate for marketing to try and get their posts to the top and so on, that is actually a machine learning model behind the scenes. So Facebook, Netflix, Spotify have been using these for years. Ultimately, they predict what you'll like and what you'll enjoy next based on data that they've been trained on. So where are we now? This is kind of the interesting part of the discussion where we start to talk about generative AI. So this is the accessible version of AI, if you want to call it that. And a lot is possible, and a lot of people don't necessarily realize what's possible. On screen is all of the different combinations that you can output using ChatGPT. This is quite common across all the different models, whether you're using Claude, Copilot, Bard, there's a lot of different ones out there. But how many of these have you tried for your role in your deliverables? I've noticed that my camera is taking up quite a bit of the screen, so I'm just going to make myself a little bit smaller. There we go. Great. So these LLMs or chatbots, if you want to call them that, what exactly are they? So they're made up of 3 main components: computing power, neural networks, and data sets. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we won't go into detail in all of these. But what I'd like to do is give you an analogy. Training an LLM is a bit like training a super intelligent student. The computing power is like brain energy. The more energy you have, the faster that you can study, handle more complex problems. If you don't have enough energy, you get tired. You won't be able to study so effectively, ultimately meaning that the end results aren't as great. learning methods are like the neural networks. So ultimately what that means is that if your model as a student would be memorizing facts or working through more practical applied problem solving, you'll be able to understand the material better, ultimately forming connections in your brain when you have better learning methods. And ultimately, this is the same for neural networks with AI models. So for the final part, you have the data sets, which are much like student study materials. A larger, more diverse set of study materials allows the student to learn more thoroughly. If the data set is too small or not varied enough, the student might struggle through new or unfamiliar problems. And ultimately, the same is for the AI. And this is ultimately why AI is getting more powerful basically every day. So at this stage, I want to put out a survey. I know that was a very brief, but I'm just conscious of the time. This is a much shorter webinar to last time. There should be a poll on screen of, does AI seem impressive now? So based on your experiences, based on how you've used it so far, do you feel that AI is impressive for you? What we'll try to do is, if we get a varied set of answers and not everyone just says yes, we'll see how that compares at the end once you've seen the demonstration. Ultimately, what I wanted to say for this slide is that where we are right now is just a simple point in time, a snapshot, if you will, of a curve that has been growing for quite some time. You know, AI was first kind of started to come to prominence in research in the 1950s and 60s. Things have accelerated quite a lot since then. The diagram on screen is from an OpenAI researcher that was posted to Twitter, or now X, in 2023. And the reason I left this in here was because I wanted to showcase where we are now. So in the past week alone, OpenAI released a new model that has additional reasoning capabilities based on early testing, and this is obviously early testing and not the full functionality that you're able to do with the previous version of ChatGPT, is already enabled in this one. But people are already saying that that is much like an AI researcher, like a PhD level researcher. So we're quite ahead of the curve, even based on this prediction from 2023. And again, computing power is increasing, the sophistication of neural networks is increasing, and the quality and size of data sets is increasing. They're actually started to use AI to generate data sets to train new models. So it really is just like a continuous feedback loop. Right, that's the end of this part of the demonstration of the talk. This is the really interesting part. This is the part of the demonstration that I'm sure you're all here for. So to address the elephant in the room, in the webinar title, it says AI knows your job. So what I'm here to do now is actually show you that it can, and also that it can help you do it faster and easier for every single deliverable, for every single role in your whole organization. What this really means though, and I wanted to show you, I'd like a volunteer from the audience, if possible. So if you could raise your hand, and hopefully that pops up for me, and I can see who is here that would like to participate. What we're going to be doing is creating an AI role plan. So I'll start by going onto your LinkedIn. Don't know who we should pick. Has anyone put their hand up? Let me see if I can see this. Maybe it's in the chat. If you'd like to volunteer for the demonstration, just put hello in the chat and I will unmute you so you can take part. Don't be shy. No volunteers? Okay, all right, I'm gonna just pick on one of you then. Okay, Steve, I'm sorry, you're gonna be the focus of this demonstration. I hope you don't mind. Let's find your LinkedIn. I hope it's up to date as well.
Yeah, relatively, yeah.
Perfect. Right. So hopefully you saw this. So this is Steve, very handsome chap. All we need to do is copy some of his experience into ChatGPT. Because we can post unstructured data, it will pick out the important bits. You can see there's a lot of other stuff in there. So thanks for sharing, Steve. Now he's got a bit of context. So as the director of Lock and Riley, this is your AI role plan. So essentially all of your key deliverables that the AI thinks that your job covers. How has it done, Steve? What do you think? Does this cover like parts of your role? Is there anything that's missing?
No, I think it's got quite a lot of it, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what I'd like to do is for you to pick one of these role deliverables and we'll dive into it. Something that looks interesting that you're sort of like, will it be able to do it?
Cost projections.
Cost
Financial
projection.
management.
Financial management, cost projections. Okay, let's do that. Right, so it's taken a little bit of time to think. Right, so here is a detailed outline for cost projections. So the suggested format for this is a spreadsheet. There'll be an introduction, purpose of the cost projection, time period, cost categories, data collection, assumptions, projections, summary. Okay, I mean, at least to me, how does it look to you? Does it seem to cover at least the main areas you'd want to cover?
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
Great. So we'll then move forward with work instructions, or what we would normally refer to as standard operating procedures. So this will then detail out essentially like a step-by-step task list of everything that needs to be done in order to create a cost projection. So initially gather historical data, define cost categories, identify key assumptions, calculate projected costs, prepare sensitivity analysis, summarize findings, present recommendations. Okay. Again, does that sort of follow what would be a standard practice for your work?
Yeah, pretty much. Just going to analyze the data and see what it.
Okay. Right. So the next step here is AI assessing this standard operating procedure and seeing how it could look in a kind of AI assisted process. So it will break it down into ChatGPT, a VA trained with ChatGPT, and then what a human in the loop can do. That human in the loop, as the experienced director that you are, Steve, that would be you. But AI can help draft requests and instructions. It can suggest appropriate categories for organizing costs based on industry standards. It can draft assumption lists. It can suggest formulas and methodologies for cost projections. Quite a breadth, actually, of stuff that it suggests. Did you know that it could do those things?
No, I wasn't aware of that, no.
Fantastic. Great. So what we do next, and I know that I'm going through this demonstration quickly, but there is another exciting demonstration after this one that I'm keen to get to, is a time study. So what this should do is look at this deliverable and say, when it estimates the time for each of the different parts, how much would it have taken you to do this before? How much would this have taken to do with AI? And how much time you save? So for gathering data without AI, it's saying that it would take 4 to 6 hours. Researching market trends, 3 to 4 hours. Let's see what it says. So without AI, it's saying that this would take 20 to 28 hours. So I guess that's what, 3 to 4 days? Would that seem accurate for you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were looking at it from a global perspective, yes. I mean, if you were diving into just an individual project or a couple of projects, it would obviously be less. But yeah, I get where it's coming from.
Okay, awesome. So now we'll have a look at what it seems to believe is the estimate once you're able to leverage AI in your role. So the timings have kind of come down. There's like some of these have gone right down to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 to 2 hours, 30 minutes to 1 hour. So it thinks that that whole process you could do in 6 to 9 hours. So essentially a day with AI. That's an approximate time saving of 70 to 75%. Which is actually really impressive. Let's have a look what it says about your overall role. So if we applied this same kind of cost saving analysis across every role deliverable, across every kind of like strategic responsibility that you have, how much time would we save? So cross project management, currently 30 hours, potential save 20 to 22. So automating time scheduling, risk analysis, process tracking, reducing manual updates. And this then goes across every single deliverable, across every single like responsibility that you have across your role. So it's saying now in total that in order to complete these, if you had 210 hours, that it'd be able to save you between 141 and 162 hours, which is a time saving of 65 to 77%. Is that believable, do you think, Steve? Do you think that AI could do that for you?
To be honest, I don't know any different, which is why I'm on this thing. So
fair enough, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so the purpose of this demonstration ultimately is one, to give you a taster of what it looks like to create your own AI role plan. This is really key to the discussion, as it serves as kind of step one for anyone looking to adopt AI within their role. I'll then flick back to the demonstration. So it knows your job and it knows how it could do it, help you do it faster and easier across every single role deliverable. What I want to do now is talk about how this is different to other kind of tools and AI services and things that you might have seen advertised, because AI is a big buzzword. Ultimately, the focus here is on actual productivity gains, where you actually train people to leverage AI in their roles. This isn't a quick win system that's going to go and replace a bunch of people. This is about leveraging AI and empowering people in your role. So ultimately, the AI transformation method takes AI novices in any role and guarantees actual productivity gains. This here is a report of a client that went through the first level of training. This is the time saving that they estimated for each of these different deliverables annualized over the year. So after the first level of training, you should aim to have £3,000 of productivity savings across the year for each team member. It sounds unbelievable, but it's actually incredible, the training. I found this to be quite useful myself in the training. What I really wanted to do next is put a bit more meat on the bones of what is actually possible once you've been through the training. So during the training, I think this week 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly, we cover the methodical approach to problem solving. So with AI, we cover problem refinement, expert solutions, an action plan, and then we execute the action plan. So, as promised, the objective of this deliverable is to create a strategic action plan for a business challenge in under 15 minutes. So this is something that is, I usually categorize work into 2 things: either an existing deliverable that you know how you need to do it, and you also just need to execute on that deliverable, or it's a problem, something new, a new challenge that the business is facing, and you also need to apply your knowledge and your expertise to try and solve that challenge. For that second part of your work, I've created this GPT. This GPT isn't something that I sell at all, actually. It's free. I can share a link with it. It's purely for the demonstration of this is what is possible for you to create for yourself that applies to your business and your challenges after just a few hours of the training. So I hope you don't mind, Steve. We may use you for the demonstration as everyone else is shy. But what I'd like to do, if you can, and if you can either come up with something off the cuff, or if you do have an actual challenge that you have in your business, it would be good to hear about it. And if you don't mind working through it together, can you describe your business and the challenge that you're facing, and ultimately what the desired outcome? An example of this, just to give an example, is a retail business is trying to improve their online customer engagement. The desired result is to increase website conversion by 25% over a quarter. I'll give it some time to have a think. Start to put it in. Would it be fair to say it's a luxury plaster and molding business?
It's a plaster and molding business. I wouldn't say it's luxury. Work for high-end clients. I think our biggest issues are probably labour going forward and training, and how we can implement that and change that for the future.
How to build a future-proof workforce through training. Through training, the desired result. So maybe this is an outcome for the business. Like maybe you want to be able to grow the business, or any thoughts? So the desired result is to stay competitive, business leader, an industry leader. Okay, let's go with this. What we'll do now, as I mentioned, it will now try to refine the problem. So what is the most significant barrier you're currently facing when it comes to building a future-proof workforce through training? A lack of structured training programs, difficulty in finding skilled workers or employees eager to learn, high cost or time investment required for training, all of the above, or something else?
I would suggest it's items A and B.
A and B. Perfect. It's definitely taking some time to think today. Right, next question. So what this is doing, just to give you some background, is every single time we answer a question, it takes that information and kind of like dynamically then updates to ask you another question that will kind of take you further down this kind of problem refinement process. So what kind of training do you believe would be most beneficial for your workforce? Technical skills specific to plaster and molding, leadership and management skills for future supervisors, soft skills like communication and teamwork, all of the above, or something else?
No, I'd say all of the above. So D.
Great. Next question. What do you believe is the most effective way to deliver these training sessions? In-house training led by experienced staff, external professional training services, online courses, combination of in-house and well, basically all of the above?
Yeah, probably D again, a combination of all of those things.
Right, final question to narrow it down. What timeline are you hoping to implement this training? Immediately, short term, so 3 to 6 months, medium term, next year, long term, more than a year?
Short term.
Okay. Good. Right, so let's really test this. So the next part, it kind of says, right, here's a kind of overview now of what your actual problem statement is. I'm going to assume that it will, just for the purpose of the demonstration so we can move forward, but it essentially encapsulates the answers to our questions to make sure that, you know, the problem that we're suggesting is accurate. Consider the unique strengths of your business. Right, so at this stage, it starts to talk about the value proposition. What I found is that this is kind of a little bit of a bug. I need to update the instructions behind this GPT, but I left it in because I wanted to showcase that, in fact, at any point, even though this is a predetermined set of instructions that it follows, it doesn't know anything about your business circumstance, and it doesn't know anything about the problem that we were about to solve today. But we can steer it. So what we do is we say that it's currently looking at the strengths of your business, but what I wanted to do is find the value of solving the actual problem that we've just defined. Let's focus on the value of solving the problem rather than the business. and it'll resteer. So here are the key benefits of your business by addressing the challenge. So increase competitiveness, higher employee retention, improve quality and efficiency, leadership pipeline, enhance adaptability. Does this value proposition align with your goals of building a future-proof workforce?
Yep, it does, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, so the next step now is to provide 5 solutions. So these are just outlines, but ultimately it's for you to decide how this kind of aligns with your vision of how you wanted to solve the problem. And it might think of things that ultimately maybe you haven't even thought of. So option 1, develop a customized in-house training program. So why it would do it that way and why it thinks that this approach is the best way to go. Partner with external training providers, bring in external professionals. Why it would do it this way: can provide fresh perspective and specialized expertise. Use online training platforms for continuous development. Explains why it would do it. Leadership development pipeline. Implement an apprenticeship or internship program. So these are the 5 solutions. I know that I haven't given you much time, Steve, to like deep dive into them and really have a look at what one you like most. But if there's any or all of them that you like, we can use those to create an action plan for you.
We've relatively got an in-house training program already, but it's very small. The issue that we're finding is attracting people into the industry when there's no external companies that are delivering qualifications. That's diminishing day by day. So we're talking about potentially setting up our own training academy externally, but that's probably our biggest thing.
Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do then is just express that. Solution 1 looks good. Looks good. We have a small in-house system already. We wanted to. Solution 2, which is the external providers, but there is a small pool of providers. Let's get smaller. What would you suggest? Let's go with this. I don't know, I've made loads of typos in that, but hopefully, right. So it's offering now a hybrid solution based on that. So refining problem 1 with creative support from external expertise. So expand your in-house training program, supplement that online resources, explore partnerships with trade associates or local educational institutes. Okay, if you're happy to go with that, what it will do now is it will look at creating a 5-day action plan to go from that is the problem that you have to how do you actually go about solving it. So we'll continue with this approach. So day 1, assess and document current training needs. So it gives a task, breaks it down, gives a prompt that you can use to execute. And ultimately what I find with this sort of chat window that you end up creating is that it then has the context of everything that you wanted it to understand about your problem and your business. And as you go, it will continue to learn as you execute the plan. So assess and document current training needs. That's the first step. Design a structured training program. Leverage external online resources. Identify areas where external trainers may provide value. Explore partnerships. Implement leadership and soft skills development. Evaluate and adjust the program accordingly. So there's even like a feedback loop in the action plan in order for you to kind of refine and keep going. So if we were happy, and again, I haven't given you much time to kind of go through that, Steve, apologies. But if we then continued and said, okay, fine, we're happy with it, or, you know, actually we want to change one day of it, or there's something else that we want to consider that we want to include into the action plan, you can adjust it accordingly. But when we actually go, and I think this is the most powerful and effective bit that actually really saves time. let's execute the plan. Fine. So then it just goes into day one. It says, right, what key technical leadership and soft skills are lacking in our workforce that are critical? You can start by gathering insights from your own observations and talking them through. And then you would start. You would say, like, right, I don't have anything to measure this. To gather info with, can you provide some resources? And at this stage, it becomes essentially your assistant for completing that task. So, I mean, it's already gone ahead and said, right, fill out this form. Here's a template. If we wanted to do a demonstration of what this actually looks like we could get it to actually output this as a spreadsheet that you could just download and run with straight away. You could get it to draft copy for emails that like talks about what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it, and then includes the survey or any forms to fill in. But again, the AI knows the context, and because you're working with it as your assistant, this takes so much less time. Right. I'm going to leave that there. I hope that's okay, Steve. And that's been a good demonstration of what you can start to achieve by using AI to solve your business challenge.
Yeah, that's been really interesting. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. So going back to the slides, realistically, what is holding you back? This is not a tool or a technology problem. These GPTs have been available, or all these different LLM models have been available for, well, coming up to a year, 2 years now. Most organizations, when they're considering AI, focus on tools that they need to deploy rather than the people that they're helping to be more productive. You saw the initial kind of wave of news that came out when this kind of technology arrived, of people replacing whole teams for customer services and all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, people that are already full in their job and ultimately maybe overworked, stressed, but trying to then think about AI, it scares them. There's fear, there's reluctance. But what would happen if we decided that it wasn't a technology problem and actually this version of AI is accessible to everyone? And if we help them produce every single role deliverable in their current role with AI, so ultimately they could build a better future and work towards what their role looks like once it's AI enabled. But you're not to blame. Ultimately, it's not your fault that this is the way that we think about AI currently. There's a lot of marketing that goes out about tools and different products for different industries, like selling to be the best thing. And ultimately what they end up being is a little wrapper around GPT that's supposedly supposed to be the best thing ever. And unfortunately, it just doesn't live up to that expectation, because the expectation was, oh, AI could just do it for me. The change in thinking is actually that once you empower people to use AI in their role, they learn how to prompt, they learn how to use it to execute their deliverables. That is where the real transformative power of AI comes in. So why now? I mean, ultimately, AI is here and it's already transforming businesses. The question isn't whether AI will impact your industry, it's whether you're ready to lead the charge or get left behind. So you have two options: lead and stay ahead of the curve, take the initiative, integrate AI into your business, position yourself and your company as a forefront of innovation and ensuring long-term success. Or you can wait. I mean, this has happened many times in the past 20 years. We had the dot-com bubble, then social media, and then all these different things that came in. And ultimately, it's the business that embraced technology, embraced change, that were able to grow and stay innovative and competitive. This window of opportunity is open now, ultimately. And I don't know when it will be closed, but it won't be open forever. So the time to act is ultimately now. So why should you trust me? Ultimately, I've been in your shoes. I used to think that AI would replace whole roles and that you could create a CEO AI that would just do a CEO's role, or a CTO role that could just be done by an AI. I'm part of a community of over 100 fractional consultants that work across different industries and function areas. And what we found is that when you start to apply it to productive use cases, it will transform your business. So I would try and break it down into 3 simple steps. Step 1, and you may have seen a demonstration of this earlier, is to create an AI role plan for you and your team. Of course, you could use AI for this, but ultimately creating a specific AI role plan for everybody in your team will showcase how they can deliver every single one of their deliverables. I mean, if you took a step back and said to any member of your team, what are all your role deliverables? What is everything that you need to deliver as part of your role? It would take them quite a long time to like figure that out and actually, make a note. And most people don't have, SOPs or working instructions for every single one of their deliverables. Well, that is now possible with AI, and that is the first step. The second step is to go through the foundational AI skills training. This is where you'll learn the skills to productively use AI in each of your role deliverables. It's currently broken into 8 sessions, from white belt to black belt. The deliverable that I showed with the action plan is possible after the 4th. So building AI agents, that is actually possible after the 4th level of training. And then the final, probably most important step, because ultimately this is about AI adoption across your business, not just for you as an individual. It's about creating a system of accountability and results. We need to onboard everyone. Everyone has to be on board with the change and how it's going to work. But when you find actual productivity gains and those can be shared, we'll create a formal process to ensure that making progress towards the ultimate goal as a business and that no one gets left behind. So if you're ready to start your AI journey for your business, you could book an AI leadership workshop. Just scan the QR code. It will take you to a Zoom schedule. You can book an hour-long session with me. This is a tailored program for your leadership team. Each member of the team will get a tailored AI role plan, ultimately setting them up on the journey to AI adoption. This is a practical hands-on session. I'll be able to guide you through for everything in your role. You'll have actionable AI strategy by the end of the session. Ultimately, this is a valuable risk-free way of starting your AI journey. And this is the Q&A time. So the section of the webinar where you guys can ask some questions, whether that's about the training, whether that's about the demonstration, or anything in between. Feel free to unmute and ask questions if you have any. No questions? Okay. Well, I guess that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found it valuable. Ultimately, I do these sessions to provide value and help educate people on AI. I spent a lot of my career teaching people how to use technology. And it's ultimately when we share that knowledge with everyone that we really see how technology can transform businesses. So thank you again for your time, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Nino. Many thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers. Thank you, Nino. Bye-bye.